programımızın ilkini sizlerle paylaşmış olmaktan mutluluk duyuyoruz. Program konuğumuz Stefano Imbert. Kendisi İtalyan asıllı uluslararası illüstratörümüz. Eş zamanlı Amerika'daki Amerika İllüstratörler Derneği'nin Yönetim Kurulu üyesi. New York'ta yaşıyor ve New York'ta City Üniversitesi'nde illüstrasyon ve resimde kullanılan renklerle ilgili renklerin terapisi eğitimlerini veren öğretim görevlisi eş zamanlı. Kendisiyle yaklaşık 45 dakika 1 saate yakın bir programımız olacak. Programın sonunda lütfen sorularınızı not alın. Programın sonunda soru cevap kısmına geçeceğiz ve daha sonra da programımızı kapatacağız. Programımızın akışında bir ilave bilgi verecek olursam, bugün Türkçe dinlemek isteyenler için canlı yayında şu an eş zamanlı İllüstratörler Platformu'nun Instagram hesabından canlı yayından Türkçesini bu programı dinleyebilirsiniz. Programımıza bugün katılmak isteyip de katılamayanlar için de bu videomuzu daha sonra sosyal medya hesaplarımızdan sizlerle paylaşıyor olacağız. Programımızın ana söyleşi kısmına başlamadan önce katılımcılardan küçük bir anket yapmasını rica edeceğiz. Birazdan anketimize geçebiliriz diye anonsunu yaptığında kısa 3 soruluk bir anketimize cevap vermenizi rica edeceğim. Anketten önce kısacık programımızda ne konuları, hangi konuları işleyeceğimiz hakkında da kısacık bilgi vereyim başlıkları. Stefano ile beraber telif haklarının yürürlükte olması ve uygulanabilirliğinin önemi, teklife karşılık ücret pazarlığı, Amerika pazarının İtalya ve karşılaştırıldığında müşterilerle telif görüşmeleri ve sözleşme şartlarının yönetimi, yeni iş alımında bütçe görüşmeleri, pazarlık, müşterilerle görüşme deneyimi, buradaki ipuçları, bir iş teklifine nasıl yaklaşmalı konusundaki bugüne kadar edindiği deneyimlerden biraz oraya girişler ve sahip olduğu deneyimlerden de bir takım yansımalar sizlere aktarıyor olacak. Stefano hakkında daha detaylı kısacık bir biyo verecek olursam şayet. Belirttiğim gibi Amerika İllüstratörler Derneği Yönetim Kurulu üyesi, 20 yıldan fazla New York'ta profesyonel olarak illüstratör sanatçı kimliğiyle de yaşamına devam ediyor. Deneyimi ve zengin bilgisiyle City Üniversitesi of New York'ta öğretim üyesi olan Imbert, illüstrasyon ve renk terapisi eğitimini veriyor. İllüstratör olarak yoğunlukla New York Broadway tiyatro oyunlarının afişleri, moda illüstrasyonu üzerinde çalışıyor. Dünya çapındaki çizerleri ve çizer birliklerini organizasyon dernekteki görevi gereği bu bağlantıda çizerlik mesleğinin ve çizerlerin farklı ülkelerdeki işlere nasıl, işlerde nasıl bir başa çıkış, iş yaklaşımı gösteriyor, nasıl farklılıklar var, nasıl yönetiliyor konusunda geniş de bir perspektife sahip kişidir. Çok yakında da bizim İllüstratörler Platformumuzun danışma kurulu üyesi olma noktasında desteklerini bize sundular. Çok onur duyduk, çok da mutluyuz. Kısacık müsaadenizle ben programın bir de İngilizce giriş kısmını yapacağım. Sonra da hemen anketimize geçeceğiz. Stefano, I will make a little, very briefly, the introduction of what I have just shared with the audience about our program and today's program. Maybe from your environment, your friends might be joining our program. Internationally well-known Italian illustrator who lives in New York City, and he is a member of board member of the Society of Illustrators America in New York again, and he creates an international network connections, illustrations, associations around the world. He is also teaches in New York City University Illustration and Colors Therapy lessons. With his wide range of connections all over the world, he helps to have a broader idea on how illustrators' profession and professional deals with this business in different countries. So we are so fortunate to have you in our advisory board to get advantage of all your know-how where you are willing to transfer to us, which is a great honor and happiness for us. Thank you so much again. Basically, today we will be talking about, very briefly, the importance of the copyright regulations in place, negotiating copyright, how we manage copyright and contracts with clients in United States and in Europe, basically more in Italy comparison, negotiation fee for a new job assignment, your personal experiences, maybe some hints you may share today with us, and how to approach a job assignment and how to negotiate and everything, and a little bit about your experience. I know we have a very limited time to talk all those topics, but today it would be like, it could be more like talking about the main topics as a briefly, but if we want to dig in more and talk about more about them, maybe we can make sessions, workshop sessions for each basic level. So today, the main purpose should be more like introducing you, having us getting the main topics of what you can provide with all that great knowledge and experience you have. So, şimdi arkadaşlar bir dakika hemen ankete geçmemizle rica edeceğim. Sorularımızı cevapladıktan sonra programımızın resmi kısmına başlıyor olacağız. Söyleşi kısmına daha doğrusu. Anket sorularımızı görebiliyorsunuz sanırım. Eğer herhangi bir sorunuz olursa, bir sıkıntı yaşarsanız chat bölümünden lütfen yazın. Dilara size gerekli desteği sağlayacak. Stefano, we are making this questionnaire. We asked 3 questions. We said, which how do you describe your profession? Illustrator, graphic designer, digital artist, teacher, writer, illustrator. The second question, what is your main working field? Is it media, news, animation, education, publication? So we have those options. They click on that.
That's very nice.
As third, we ask them, what is the specific information you are actually looking for the upcoming programs? According to this survey, we can do another program, and we can try to cover up some of it today as well. So we said it's about copyright and agreements, the working conditions and the pricing. The other option is the techniques of, in illustration, and the tools in using illustration, tools, devices, all that compartment. And the sectors of illustration, has business. In what sectors we can do businesses in with illustration. Every country has different reflex when it comes to what sectors they mainly work with. This will give a good outline for us for our next programs.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Anketlerimiz tamam mıdır?
Şu an 12 kişi cevapladı. 4 kişi bir süredir cevaplamıyor. Belki bir yolda falan olabilirler. O yüzden sonlandırıyorum anketi. Bir 10
Tamam.
saniye içerisinde.
Tamamdır. Okay, we are done with the survey. Now, how I would like to do, I have a few questions, and then please you take the screen, and I will leave behind, and I will let you give us your great know-how and experience sharing with us.
Okay, okay. So we are waiting for some questions, or should I?
Actually, the main topics we would like to talk about, the copyright situation, how it is taking in place with your experience in New York, in United States, and also when you compare it with Europe, especially you know more about Italian market. You can give us a little bit about your experience, how the practice is going, and what kind of difficulties the illustrators are facing. And as an association also, I'm sure there are some actions taking place to help out the illustrators, how to resolve those problems being in place. Generically, if you bundle up all and give us your ideas and
Yes.
information, that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
I'll go then. Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Stefano. As you can see, that's my name. Regarding copyright, that's a very, very, very tricky, complex topic. Here in New York City, in America, it's much more regulated. I work mostly for theaters and fashion, and I have my contract set up for every job I get, and I get my contract from, actually, the Nurgül knows it very well because she got it too. Here we have this kind of book that is sort of a Bible for a graphic designer or an illustrator. And it's called Pricing Ethical Guidelines, and it is the Graphic Artists Guild prints it every few years, updated with updates and stuff. But you can get your idea of a contract, and then you can create your own and make it work for your specific business. If you do editorial, if you do just design, I mean, it depends on what you want to do. You can craft it. And here, what I do is I send out, after I get an assignment, the first thing I send out the contract. And it goes back and forth between me and the artistic director, if it's a theater. And we go back and forth, and sometimes he wants to add something on the contract or detract something from the contract. So you have to balance what you really want to achieve at the end. I always retain my copyright of my images. Actually, those are a couple of my posters on the wall around me. They are I keep it, and so every time I can reuse my image if I want later on for something else, for my private, you know, if I want to show them around, if I want to use it for something else. But it's not always the case. There are many other cases here, especially in editorial, where it's not as easy to get your, to keep your copyright to your own. So in that case, it's just a matter of deciding. You can try to negotiate back and forth and get and keep the copyright and keep your price and keep, but sometimes you have to really think, stop and think a minute and see if it's a very, very important publication, like here in New York, the New York Times, or the New Yorker, New York Magazine. Those are really, really big publications that can really help your career, can really help your career move forward. 90% of the time, you cannot keep the copyright with those. But in this case, it's much more important for you to have your exposure out with, it's such an important achievement in your career to be on the New York Times, on the New Yorker, New York Magazine, all those very important magazines that you gladly give away your copyright. There are other cases that you just do the job because you need the money, like everybody. We all need to pay the rent. So you can really, and if the magazine is not as important, you can really start to negotiate. And then again, it's a give and take. If you want to give up your copyright, then they have to pay you more money. And if they don't want it, again, it's a back and forth and try to negotiate your best deal you can get out of a job. I have a lot of friends that don't really care about keeping the copyright. They don't even send a contract, which is crazy because then they can do whatever they want with your image. They can reuse it everywhere. They can sell it to other people, and you cannot do anything because you don't have a contract to begin with. So that's a very important, no matter what it is, it's important to have a contract, even if it's not for, you know, you don't retain your copyright. Because as Nurgül was saying, I created a network with the Society of Illustrators here in New York of international illustration association societies. And with those, I had a pulse. I can understand how the other work. And that's how I met Nurgül. Because we started to exchange emails about the situation here in New York and in Turkey and how things were different. And so every country has its own rules. And more than that, it's also cultural. It's a cultural thing because I know I'm from Italy. A lot of people in Italy almost don't pay illustrators. Only if you're a very big name, you can ask for big money and contract and everything else. But if you want to work, the problem, it's a big problem. They work mostly for free which is very, very dangerous for all of us, because then the level goes down. And it's very hard to negotiate if they do that. So it's always try to get money out of it, even a little bit. I know at the beginning you would work for nothing just to have your work seen in a magazine, on a website, or wherever. You would do anything. But just remember that if you don't ask for money, then those artistic directors, those editors, they just feel like it's their duty not to ask for money. And they want your art for free. And that's not good, because that will cut off all of us. It will create a problem for all of us. So try to always have, as I said, a contract, and try to negotiate at least a little bit at the beginning. I know it's hard, but you have to try to get at least something out of each job you get, and get up and up and up and up, little by little. You cannot ask for the moon, of course, at the beginning, but there's somebody who says you only represent who you are by what you ask also. So if you ask more, can also mean that you are a professional and you know what to do. So it's always a good thing to have something prepared for an editor or an art director to have, a contract that shows how professional you are. And that's a very important thing. We all have, and this is just moving a little bit out of it, it's important to have a presence, your professional presence, somewhere on the web, online. And of course, Instagram, it's great. It's great to show your work to everyone, but be careful to have your own professional account, because nobody, if you send an art director to say, if you're interested, go to my Instagram and there's my work, and make sure that it's only your work. Nobody wants to see what you had. No art director is interested on what you had the night before for dinner, or where did you go? It's your cat. It's cute, but they don't care about your cat. They want to see your work. So you can have both. You can have your friend's Instagram account and your own professional account. That's very important to look professional. That's just as a start. You have to have some sort of platform. And actually, Nurgül, having the Illustrator platform, that's a great place to have it. It immediately gives you a professionality. You can send the art director to the Illustrator platform, and immediately makes you to another level. You are serious. You want to do business.
Thank you so much, Stefano. You gave very nice hints about the professionalism and the copyright issues. I took a few notes, actually, and I have one question.
Yes.
You highlighted the importance of showing your appearance. It's very important for an illustrator. We, as an illustrator platform, we are focusing on that as well. As you said, we are trying to create professional environment on web-based and also social media. And in the meantime, we are really working so hard to deliver those portfolios all over the world to all professionals. But you highlighted one thing very important, which is every illustrator should have their own social media account, but it's very important to separate your personal stuff and your professional stuff. I think that was a very nice hint for everyone. Every illustrator should definitely have their own Instagram account or whatever social account they want to use, social media account, but only with their works to show their professional approach to others. The other topic hint you gave us, always try to get money, otherwise we create the perception on buyers that this illustration and the people who works with illustration, they do stuff free of charge. So that perception is really not good for every illustrator, and it's affecting the sector in a negative way. But there is a conflict also, you know, like places, New York Times, New York Magazine. In the meantime, you should have a good judgment of where you can gladly give away your work. So there is a important balance where you should think as a marketing perception of your own branding. There are important places you can gladly give away because it will come back, turn around and come back to you as a marketing.
Yes.
But other than that, as a principle, even though it's a very funny budget, they have to define a minimum budget just as a principle.
Yes.
And
the people always think that because we are artists, we love to do no matter what, even for free, which is true. We draw for us. It's our way to live, really. We love to do this kind of thing, but we also have to pay the rent. So they have to learn. We have to make the art director, if they learn, we have to teach them that we are professional, and they will never go to a restaurant and ask the chef to cook for us for free. Why they think that an illustrator should do that? You know, it's crazy.
True, very good comment. And also you mentioned that if you give up on your copyright, which is in practice, mostly they ask for you to give up on your copyright. They wanna, I have a question right there. If you give up on your copyright, how do you make the agreements? Do you give them a certain period of time? Like, let's say, okay, I'm giving up on my copyright, you can use it, reprint it, or get some portion of it and use, you know, maybe you are giving the image with layered, and they can, you know, take out some portion of it and use it somewhere else. Do you give it for like 5 years, 10 years, and then you get back your work? Or is it a lifetime?
Well, it depends on the obligation and on the company. For instance, Condé Nast, the company Condé Nast that has Vogue, New Yorker magazine, and just name it, they are huge. They send you a contract that you have to, you try to negotiate that, but normally you lose it. You lose your copyright, and basically they can do whatever they want with your illustration. They pay you though. They pay you, not enormously, but if you have your illustration on Vogue France or Vogue New York or Vogue wherever, it's an important step for you, and you just give up your copyright in that case. If not, they have such a power because they are so big. Condé Nast, it's huge, so it's really, really hard to negotiate with them in those terms because they always win, because they always have lawyers and stuff. So don't even try it. Just be happy that they, in that case, pay you and you work for them. For other companies, no. Try as much as you can to keep your copyright or give them the permission to use it only for a certain amount of time. And maybe one-time use. Normally you just say one-time use. My illustration, it's only for the merchandise and for my theater, does everything from the playbill, the things to send around, all the merchandise, but just for that show, they have to pay me again if they want to reuse it for something else 2 years after or something.
I see, thank you. So maybe now as a, according to your program, you had something to show us as well.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you would like to share,
Yes.
we would love to see them.
Yes, gladly so. This is a presentation that I used because I believe that every artist is an artist because we get inspired constantly since we were born by things that surround us and by other artists, and we build who we are because we learn from other people, other artists in the past. So my presentation, it's a little bit of a, where is it? Okay, let me see. Oh, hold on, I lost it. Here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Very good. So this is, as I was saying, is who I am and how I got where I got to be, in this case, an illustrator for theaters. So my influences to get there. Of course, everybody knows Toulouse-Lautrec. That was a great, great, strong influence on me since I was a kid. The free lines, it's so fresh, so on the moment. I just loved it immediately. And I have it, a little bit of him in me. And then another famous Mucha, or Musha, he is incredible at the turn of the century, the last century. He did theater poster, especially for Sarah Bernhardt, that was like Meryl Streep of the time. And, reflects the style of the time, but is the essential, the how he was able to create those images in such a limited space. It's so long and narrow, and yet he was able to tell a story through this. This is very important. This is an Italian illustrator that did a lot of poster, Marcello Dudovic. It was from the 30s, you can see it was like a moment of Art Deco, and I loved it. I copied him, and you learn how to use your color, your line, your composition from that moment. This is Seneca. It's another Italian one. It was such a graphic design approach to thing at the time that it's so amazing. It's so modern now, and this was made in the late 20s. It's really, really amazing how modern those illustrations still are. And it's so great to be able to copy them, to get an idea at the beginning and how the structure is. This is Polish poster. I love those Polish poster of movies and theater, how they were able to immediately give the sense of the play, the movie. Look at Cabaret. It's so clear what it is. The concept is so clearly and loosely addressed. It's really, really beautiful. And this is my mentor, I worked for him, Jim McMullen. He is the principal illustrator for the Lincoln Center Theater here in New York. And when I started my career in New York, I was his assistant. And I learned, and he still is one of my best friends, but I learned how to deal with clients with him, how to be patient with clients. He working for Lincoln Center, which is one of the biggest theater in the United States, and he's one of the biggest illustrators in the United States. I saw how much he struggled with the clients. And I understood he's such a big name and he's still struggling with them. That means that I should be patient and let, you know, it's happens to everyone, even to the biggest one. It's a constant struggle with commitment. And this is my way of working. When I get, that I learned from him, of course. When I get the play, and you can see the play right there, I read the play first, then I start to think of images. And I go online and I start to gather images that can convey the initial concept. And so you see the image on the back, which is back there, on my back where I work. Yeah, so that's my first step, is just to, and which is very, very creative, because even looking for images just start, your brain start to get moving and inspired by other images and how you can incorporate those images in your own work. And that's very, very important. It's so creative. For me, it's the best moment. Try to find references because you just, it's so fresh. It's just the moment. And you start to look for something that can be inspiring for you. And this is a job for a poster for a play that was about this set in the 30s, was this young writer that wanted to become a playwright in New York City in the 30s, early 30s. So I felt in this case very much like myself. I had the same experience coming in New York. I had to make myself in this big city. And so instead of having a model or another person pose for me, I wanted to pose myself for this specific poster. So I took pictures and I started to do sketches in, you know, up there. You can see the pencil sketches, and then I started to get into the color sketches, and it's all a sequence of things. And those were the first set of sketches for the poster that I sent to the, I had in mind something that somehow could be related to the time that the play was set in the 30s. So I tried to think Art Deco or Cubism art. You see, there are very different takes. And the creative director liked the one with the street, because for me, Broadway in New York, the theater district in New York, Broadway, is like, for people who love theater, is like a church. So I tried to create this street that looked like somehow can bring to mind a Gothic cathedral, because it's like, to me, Broadway, it's also like that. So I went for that. And I started to have a few tries with them, what they liked and what they not, how the character should be set in the composition, and there was a car at the beginning, and then I got rid of the car, and at the end you see with the title, at the end, the final product. But to get there, it takes a lot of time and a lot of tries, a lot of back and forth with the art director, creative director, and that can be frustrating because you have your own idea, but at the end, you have to try to keep your idea intact as much as you can. But at the end, it's their final product, it's for them. So they have to be happy, and you have to make them happy as much as you can, trying to keep your concept intact. And that's not always easy. And I work, this is traditional, this is watercolor, but I use layers then with Photoshop so I can move things around. So it is digital, but it starts as, you know, a watercolor, real watercolor. This is another one, a new morality. Again, was set on a river in a town near London. They were very elaborate boat houses. So those are the first sketches. And all the show, it's in one of those boat houses. So I started to get, first it was a daytime. So I tried a daytime. Then he said, no, it's better. Let's do it. It's more intriguing, more mysterious if we do it at night. So I did it again at night. And with two, with only one. So all the focus, only one boat. So the focus was on the boat. But they didn't like it. At the end, they decided, no, let's do this with other boats. So it gives an idea of a community that lives there. So I had to start over and do again. And at the end, that's the final product is right there. In this case, I used one painting. That was one painting, so I couldn't move things around. So when they said, no, we want more boats, I had to start over and give them completely another painting. And you know, it's frustrating. But that's the nature of our job. So you just comply and you do it. This was for a Shakespeare play, Love Labour's Lost, and they wanted the archer. There's a scene with these ladies that are impressing the mankind, the gentlemen there with archery, with arch and bows. So we got for that. First, it was something more general, more modern, and then they wanted the turn of the century because that's where it was set. And you see how many I did it. But because I use Photoshop to create those images, even for the sketches, it's easy to create different compositions. In this case, it's quicker to send different variation. Instead of redoing it each time, even the sketch, you can just do that. It's a sketch after all. And those were the color one. Again, night, day, afternoon, with the, you know, it was set in a park. The show was in one of New York parks, so they wanted the New York Park, Bryant Park on the background. So I introduced Bryant Park in the background. And for this theater, I do the title too. I do the title, as you can see. And at the end, that was the final product. You see, I changed the title too many times, the coloring. And these are just a selection of my other poster that I did. You know, I did a lot of Shakespeare here in New York. Hamlet, Midsummer Night, King Lear. this for another theater. I worked with this theater, the Mint Theater, for more than 10 years, and I did every production. I did it for them for more than 10 years. And the one that does Shakespeare too, it's more than 10 years that I work for them. So I'm very lucky. And I'm lucky, this was a theater, but it was all online. They were producing musicals to being, made available to whoever wants it to try. There were mini musicals, and they wanted a look like an off-Broadway look, a theater look. So they asked me to do, even though it was very, very modern and very upcoming and funky and everything, they wanted a more classic theater look for each of their posters. So I did those for them. And this is the last one that I did before the lockdown that closed the theater in New York. This was a beautiful show on were two Chekhov and two plays, one Chekhov and one Tolstoy's plays, and that was the final. You see, they wanted birds, and they didn't want birds, and so it's flying, and so this is a different take every time. But this is the last product was the one with the title. And this is the one who's coming next. I don't know when, because we are all closed down, so I don't know. And this is my fashion. I just so you can see other stuff that I do. I do fashion illustration. I did it for a long time for a publication in London. It's an online publication, menswear style, and I had to, every month I had a series of illustration, and I went to a lot of fashion weeks here in New York. This is fashion for lady fashion in this case. That I love to do this because it's very fast, quick, and creates a different feel. And you have, for fashion, you cannot be too specific, but you have to give an idea of what the dress is like. Just an idea of your interpretation of the dress. So I like that take. And then, this is a fun part for me, I did all the merchandise for a very big, iconic drag performer in New York, Lipsinka, and I did all her merchandise, all the cards, the logo, and everything. That's her. And those are a few of the cards that I created for her. And that's it for now.
Well, Stefano, I couldn't get my eyes off the screen. Every bit of them is a great work. I really enjoyed watching it, and I'm sure all our participants are as well.
I hope so. I always enjoy to see a little bit of the process of another artist, how they approach a job, what's the sequence of events, what they do. And I always found that very much interesting because it's like a behind the scene. And for another artist, it's important to see what we do, what other people does.
I took a few questions, as a matter of fact. Before I get into my questions, I want to double check with Dilara because we are doing a live program in Turkish version on Instagram account, which has been almost an hour now. How many minutes do we have?
We just have 1 or 2 minutes more. I think we can have a break, short break, to share the IGTV and start again the part 2.
Okay, so let's do 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes break.
Yeah.
We'll be on webinar. But for Instagram, to relaunch a live program again for questions and answers, we'll give it 3 minutes. Stefano.
Yes.
I have many questions. I mean, I realized beginning of the program, there is so much that we would like to talk. I mean, during my visits to New York City and we had those chats and everything, it's just so difficult to shrink it everything and suck it in a 1 hour period of time. So as I said, this program should be like getting into Turkish market for you and having you introduce our illustrators platform illustrators.
Yes.
I would love to set up another program in upcoming feature by focusing on one specific topic probably.
Sure.
So when you mentioned even very big names struggle with clients,
yes.
I think it's a very, very important hint comes from knowledge. And how many years you've been in this industry? Quite long.
20.
Sorry?
20 years, more
20
or less.
years, an international market. And if you say that, that means something. So all new entries who's getting into this industry or has been there, but just has been like about 5 to 10 years, they should be patient and they should keep pushing and probably consider whatever problems they are facing today. It's just so natural, the part of his business.
Yes. Yes. If can I add something that I always tell to my students?
Sure, please.
During the semesters, the new students. I know that being an artist means being an artist that enjoy more than, in my case, drawing or painting. We are connected also to, we enjoy music, we enjoy singing, we enjoy dancing, we enjoy fashion drawings, and all these things are other passion that we all have, because our mind is a creative mind, so we have to pick one, and in this case was illustration. But you can, I'm sure most of artists can play an instrument or can sing, can dance, it's a very, we are very lucky this way, because when you're a creative person, you have your brain set to be open to many other values. You can be a writer, also enjoy that. So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to convey to my students is that there are a lot of illustrators around. There's a lot of competition. So for my experience, I learned that very quickly after I got out of School of Visual Arts here in New York, and I realized how many other illustrators there are around. They all want to focus on editorial illustration. They want to be on a magazine, on a newspaper, on a whatever. So I thought, okay, I have to be a little different. I have to find my own niche, because those will, all editorial stuff, it's saturated. there are too many illustrators. So let's try to think, what else do I like? What else is my passion? And my passion was theater. So it was like very organic for me to move from illustration and adapt my illustration into the theater world. So creating posters. And that immediately bring you to another level, because there are definitely less illustrators that want to be in as work with theaters, because it's more complicated and you have to have a little bit of knowledge of theater. So that worked for my advantage. And then I said, you know what, I love fashion too. So why don't I try that? And to get out with that, and it happened. There are not so many illustrators as want to be in. What I'm saying is, try to focus on something. It's very important to focus on something that you feel very passionate about also, and try to create your own niche with that too, instead of just being too broad, because again, there are a lot of other illustrators around. So you have to be, to create your own module.
Wow. Okay. Dilara, biz devam edebilir miyiz bu arada?
Evet, canlı yayınımız başladı. Türkçe çeviri şu an live'da.
O zaman ben, olur arada kaçıranlar olduysa bu bekleme esnasında, Stefano'nun söylediklerini kısacık ana hatlarıyla madde madde hemen paylaşayım Stefano ile beraber. Arkadaşımız da gerekli çeviriyi yapar. Böylece arkada kalan hiçbir konu olmaz. Stefano, it's a nice hint. I took a note of it, and after our program, I will write those down and I will share those with you, those hints, and then I will share that with your permission, with our platform's members.
Sure.
So what you said is very important. You're saying, as an illustrator, there is a big competition in every market: United States, France, Belgium, Turkey, India, is all over the world. And my understanding, every country has its own unique focus when it comes to illustrations. For instance, I think in the United States, the editorial illustration is a big hit. And I would like to know what else is a big hit when it comes to illustration. This is one question I have. And if you compare other markets in the world, what place would you consider the paradise for the illustrators? When it in terms of, getting the necessary value, when it comes to the practice and the copyright issue and everything, more empathized agreements. So illustrators are so lucky to be living and working there. I don't know if there is any definition or perception about this. What country is the paradise, or what market is the paradise? This is the second question I have. I have a couple more questions, but let's have your answers for those first, and then I will continue. A couple more questions.
Okay, so the first one was, just remind me the first one.
The first one is actually, let me get back to my notes.
Yes. I can start with the second one. Which one is the paradise? In the meantime, I don't think there is a place that it's perfect, because nothing is perfect. But the United States culturally have a very, very long and strong tradition in illustration. as well as France and England. Italy lost it completely. There's very, very little illustration. Now it's bigger again. There is an Italian school that is very strong, but they work mostly abroad. They work a lot here. A lot of Italian illustrators work in the United States. In regards of contracts and stuff, again, I think that in the United States and in England, probably, no, I know, they are more keen, they're more used to have contracts and the copyrights. They are more educated there because they have a long tradition of illustration in magazine and in any other form. You can see that when you come to the United States, you open a magazine, a newspaper, and you see illustrations. Now too, a lot. In England, it's the same. Unfortunately, in other places, it kind of disappeared. There's a lot of graphic design. So in those, it's here and in England, I would say it's still strong, and you can make your case there. You can push, you can negotiate. I have a hunch that probably in North Europe, they are very well regulated too. I don't remember specifically, but I think that the struggle with copyright and contract is unfortunately everywhere. So you really have to try to make it work as best as you can.
I see. Okay. I have another question about the revisions. You mentioned the new morality work of yours. It was a watercolor. You did everything from scratch once again. But when it comes to sketches, it's fairly easier to do revisions. How do you balance, customers, a lot of times, they don't understand how much time you are spending on that work. And sometimes the revisions they are asking for could be costing you doing the same work all over again. What is the practice? Do you charge if the revision is taking fairly long time of yours? Or do you do it for free of charge all the time? How do you define and balance that?
No, I put it in the contract. I put it in my contract that for the final, when we get close to the final illustration, there are 3, or like they do here, 3, like this, it's in Italy, 3 revisions only. And then if they want more, they have to pay for it. And I put that always in my contract. But then there is a case, it's case by case, because there can be a case that there was a misunderstanding. You understood one thing for another, sometimes happens. And so it's on your part. You did something that they didn't ask. So, because you are creative. So when you're there, it's hard to follow strictly, really, parameters that, for you, you just add things because it's for your aesthetic, it looks better. But that's not always true for the editor. So I said, no, but I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask to add that little thing. So it's can be on both sides that they ask you to have a revision. But there are cases that are nightmares that, especially at the beginning of my career, that they ask a constant revision, and color change at the last minute. They cannot do that because it's...
one more question. When it comes to revision, you suggest illustrators you should put on your contract if when the work comes close to final, you can accept 3 revisions. 3. How did you do that? Like that, yeah. Other than 3 revisions, you charge for them. So how do you define the budget? Let's say you're making a project which is the deal, the contract is for $1,000, for instance.
Yes.
And they ask you revisions after you've almost finalize it, and all of a sudden, those heavy, big revisions they are asking, how do you define the budget?
Well, you have to make.
Let me help out a little bit. Is it something like a percentage of the total cost of the project, maybe? Depending on the revision, if they're asking you to do the work, about 30% of your work you need to redo it, then you may be asking 20 to 30% of the total budget. What is the calculations sense of it?
Yes. If it's a new job with people you never met before, you never worked for before, and you don't have a relationship, you can try that. You can try to be very fiscal, very strict. You can try to do that. You know, because then really they can take advantage of you. So you have to try to say, no, I already did already 3 minor revisions. I'm not talking about huge revisions. I'm talking about a change of something that you can do digitally. You know, it's not that you have to start over again. And regarding the sketches, in the sketching phase, that's the process. You can make as many as you want of those. You have to put them there and make them understand what kind of possibilities there are there for a composition and for an idea, a concept, and they have to, and then you have to agree, and both sides to agree on an image at the end. But then when the image is set, only very small changes are allowed, and you have to put it on your contract. Now, when you have a long relationship with a client, like for instance for my theaters, I cannot be as fiscal because they are helping me and I helping them create an image, and I cannot risk to deteriorate our relationship with being too fiscal and say, no, I already did it 3 times. You know, no, it's just, no, you want to keep that relationship going. So again, it's very hard to be able to say, just do that. You should, but then you have also to balance it in your mind. What is best for you? The outcome. What's the best outcome?
So is it possible to mention some kind of calculation manner for these revisions? Just to have an idea. Let's say I have no clue. I'm a new entry in the market. What is the common practice in the professional field?
Yeah, as I said, the common practice is 3 revisions. 3 minor revisions. That's what most people does. Most illustrators do. 3.
Regarding the budget-wise, can we? I'm sure it's very difficult to define anything. So that's why.
No, you ask if your fee, it's inclusive of the revisions too. And sometimes you do have revision, and sometimes you don't. it goes fine. So that's what I mean. That's why sometimes if you have a long relationship with a client, then sometimes it goes right, everything goes smooth, but sometimes it doesn't. So you have to balance. With a new client, you try to be more strict and set rules more strictly, but your fee, it's inclusive of the 3 revision. If they ask for a 4th one,
Yes.
then
now, how much we charge?
I don't know. It depends
It's a major revision, let's say.
a major revision, you can ask an extra, I don't know, not really much, but at least $200 if it's a major.
So it's not a calculation of some percentage of the total budget. It's a calculation of for your time hour you're spending on it, probably, and it differs for every illustrator.
Yes.
If you say that, that would be probably the correct.
Yes, absolutely, because everybody has his own way of work, and everybody works differently, and sometimes you are very fast. So, and sometimes, and you're slow. For you, it's more important to do something slowly, to understand it better. Everyone it's hard to do it hourly because of that. Because you get so involved in your work that you really want to finish it. And you have deadlines sometimes, so that are very strict deadlines. Here in New York, an illustration for a magazine, it's only hours. They call you a Friday night. I have a lot of friends that work in editorial. They get a call like Thursday night, evening, and then they want the illustration finished with sketches, all the process by the day after, if they're lucky.
Wow.
The evening. Otherwise, it's the same day. It's the Friday morning to Friday evening.
Wow.
And
It's fast.
I don't like that because I'm used to theaters that we do poster a year in advance before the show of
I see. Okay, one more question. When you want to approach a new project or a job, how is the practice in the United States? Do they require from you do a sample drawing, or they just decide to give you the project through looking through your portfolio? And if they are asking for a sample drawing, what is the common practice? Do you usually charge for it, or do you do it for free of charge?
You should charge. I got many times it happened that a theater they ask a few illustrators, like 2 or 3, that they think they can fit the project, and they ask the 3 of them to do like a sketch, a color sketch of the idea, of the concept, and they pay you not much, but they pay you, but then they pick the one they think fits the project best.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a little contract with them. I did it a few times, and then if you get chosen, then you start to work on it, and it's your fee at the end. But there are a lot of agency that ask many illustrators to work on the same project, and then at the end they pick the one that they think best.
So it's the common practice when it comes to submitting for or approaching for a new job. You don't just go through with your portfolios. They actually want to see an official drawing for a specific project, but they pay symbolic budget for your work you're spending on that job.
Yes, yes, yes, yes. They pick you at the beginning, they choose you because they have seen your work to begin with on your website, on Instagram, and they like what you do. So they ask you to apply your way of working to their project and see if it works. And sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes they just ask you to do it, and without any trial before.
I wanted to go into those specific questions because when I compare Turkish market to United States, where United States is more professional market compared to Turkey, the Turkey clients are expecting from illustrators to do the work free of charge, sample drawings, and they don't like it, they re-ask it. And we've been discussing with illustrators, actually there should be a perception on the customer's side that the illustrator is actually spending time and effort and it's their job, you know, so it worth something. It shouldn't be all the time free of charge, or if they're not paying anything, they should decide through their portfolios. So that was a hot topic. And also the revisions as well. That's a tricky thing in our Turkish market. Even though we are done, you know, we are at the final, they're asking revisions, which you have to go through all the way again. And the customers usually think that it's their right to ask. They are paying, they are getting the work, they want it the way they want it, so they can ask and they can change mind and give many revisions. That's the perception we have in the market, which we are as an illustrator platform also working on. That perception needs to be changed.
Yes, yes, absolutely. As I said before, it's hard to do, but in this case, the illustrator platform can be a tool to teach not only illustrators, but art directors and publication, that's what they have to do, because they need to be educated. They just think that that's the right way to do it, but it's not. So they need to learn it. And we, as an illustrator, needs to be more strict. And I know that it's hard, because if you say, no, listen, you have to pay me, otherwise I'm not going to do anything, they just take another one that does it for free.
Exactly, that's what happens. So I totally agree what you said, and I'm glad you confirmed our approaches are right approaches in the market in Turkey. Because when we talk about these problems, we say we have to work on both sides, the customers and also illustrators. Customers also, they don't have a bad intention, not all of them, but they just don't know how to give a brief. And when they design their brief, they don't have the empathy how much costly on illustrator if they don't think clearly and be decisive about what they really want. And they should not be keep changing their minds, and they should be so clear about their brief and then start working with the illustrator. So it's both-sided educational process, let's say.
Yeah, as for you, actually, while you were talking, I thought about it. Maybe next time that you have something like this today, that you should invite art directors and have them because they are so connected to us, to our profession, because they are the one that give us jobs. So our directors, creative directors, to listen to what we have to say and what are our needs. and try to balance and try to make them understand that we are professional. We study as much as, you know, you wouldn't think of going to a doctor and not paying him, or come on. You know, you pay the cleaner to do it. Why not an illustrator? It's really bizarre how this is. And then if there is an artist in a gallery, they wouldn't think twice of paying an enormous amount of money to have the painting. But we do exactly the same thing, and they don't want to pay us. It's really a mental, they have to learn that yes, there is this possibility, and there should be this possibility. So
that was very clear. Thank you. Yeah. Our priority actually is to start with children's books publishers, because when we look at the Turkish market, where we have the major fields of illustrations, we have children's books publishers, publications. Picture books is coming a big hit in Turkey lately. And also, of course, yes, art directors in advertisement agencies. There's a storyboard is one of the main focus as well when it comes to media sector, advertising agencies. And also we do have editorial work a lot, and lately digital art is coming in. Thank you for the advice. We'll do invite some art directors to our program as second after children's books publishers. One last question I have. You mentioned about your merchandise work.
Yes.
You did a merchandise. Do you give up on your copyright in merchandise projects, or do you get royalty-based deals?
Yes.
How does it work?
I had once again. I did it out of passion and love, because I love Lipsinka, and we became very good friends. And I was an admirer. I was a fan of her, and so we worked together. It was our project. But yes, you have to. She gets. It's like a 50-50. She gets. I get 45, and she gets 55 or something like that of the royalties of our things.
So merchandise licensing or art licensing, we can call it, can be the agreement can be done royalty based.
Yes.
Of their net total sales.
Yes, that's a very tricky thing. That's very, very complicated. And actually, in this book, it's explained. So you should look there too, because it's very complex, but can be very lucrative. You can make a lot of money out of that. It's hard to get into the merchandise, the packaging. All those are very, very lucrative. But it's very hard to get to because it's so complicated. There are a lot of nuances and legal things. So it's you have to be very careful there.
Okay, thank you, Stefano. Let me check if we have any questions from participants. If not, I think we can close the program. Eğer sorusu olanlar varsa bir 5 dakika sorulara yer verebiliriz. O arada da ben programı şöyle bir kapatmaya doğru özetine geçeceğim. We have about like 5 minutes to close the program. In that period of time, people can ask if they have any questions. And during that time, I want to cover the main highlights you gave us today. It's been very, very knowledgeable, with full of experience. very educational also program for us. Thank you so much for everything you shared with us very sincerely, deep from your heart. We appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you. I'm a passionate, I'm a Mediterranean guy, so it's my passion is like your passion. We are very passionate people.
Yes, it crosses each other
We
right
are
away.
Mediterranean. We lived on the same sea. We grew up there, so we know what it is.
Yes. So one of the highlights you brought us today, the illustrator should keep in mind, even though the best illustrator all the time are struggling with clients. So don't get upset or demotivated about anything when it comes to struggling with clients. That's the nature of the work. And keep pushing hard and be patient about it. And sometimes be smart to balance where you should be giving out your copyright of your work, and also sometimes gladly give away, do giveaway projects which will come around to you as a marketing and branding to your work. But other than that, try not to do anything for free of charge. You have to get, as a principle, minimum charge at least to control the perception of people. What you do is something you spend an effort on it, and it's not free of charge. And you said there is no paradise in the world. Every country and a marketplace has its own strugglings. So we have to again be patient about that. And as last, as an illustrator, know your marketplace, know what you are passionate about, be aware of a big competition, and always have a second option on your plan. If there's a huge competition on one field you want to get into, try to find also something else that you're so passionate about where you can have better chance of coming top 10 or on the top list of that market. And focus and create your own style, and keep being passionate. So these are the highlights that I took out of today, among many others. Thank you very much for everything.
Of course, it's my pleasure. It was really my pleasure.
Okay. İllüstratörler Platformu'nun Uzmanıyla Sohbetler programımızda ilk programımız biraz uzun sürdü gibi, ama konuşulacak konular fazlasıyla derinlemesine konulardı. İlerleyen zamanlarda başlık başlık daha detaylı görüşmeler halinde devam etme olasılığı var. Yakında başka konuklarımız da yine farklı konu uzmanlıklarıyla programımıza gelecekler. Bizleri dinlediğiniz, katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz. Daha sonrasında sormak istediğiniz sorular olursa İllüstratörler platformumuza temasa geçebilirsiniz. Biz sorularınızı ayrıca da programdan sonra da cevaplama gayretinde oluruz. Herkese çok teşekkürler. Görüşmek üzere. İyi hafta sonları diliyorum. Okay, see you. Bye.